Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to the RCBian Chelsea Fan TV. And yes, today I have with me Prasanna yet again. Yes, because we are here to basically do the post-mortem of India's loss. Yes, India's loss in the World Test Championship final. It is yet another loss, Prasanna. It is, I think, the third consecutive final loss for India in ICC tournaments. So, what do you think about that? Like, what's your first reaction? Obviously, everyone is doomed here.
I'm not even angry. I'm kind of used to it. The thing is, we play well till we get to the semi-final, final, and then suddenly I don't know what happens. Something just goes missing. That's been the
Yeah.
problem for a long time, and I don't know when this will change. I have no doubt that we have the players, we have the excellent talents, but when it comes to mentality, how many of them actually have the mentality to perform on the big stage? I really question that. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that is the key basically, right? The mentality, like, obviously, a lot of things were told before the match. Obviously, we, both of us also, like, I have to kind of put my hand up that, we thought like India were easily dominant and we could win this match. And that is more of being positive. But the reality is that, things changed closer into the match, like, so there were a lot of conditions that were there maybe a week prior to the match. And then the conditions totally changed. And like the team management and of course the team, are aware of, they're well experienced to be ready for that. And there has to be some amount of flexibility. So we're going to talk today about basically what is it that was lacking in India, what is it that New Zealand had, of course, the best performers and whatnot. So Prasanna, we should get down to business to the first topic, right?
yeah.
Yep. Okay, so basically, here one aspect is luck. It is not a secret anymore that Virat Kohli does not bring as much amount of luck in tosses than many other captains do. I think he's lost about 7 tosses in the last 10 tosses that he's gone for. Like that is a big chunk, and of course, the reason why I thought we'll start from that is because yes, it was a one-off final. We all knew that, and the toss was going to play a large part because of the conditions, like I briefly said, Prasanna. So, Prasanna, when we did the preview, I think guys check out the description below. I'm sure you guys must have checked, but when we did the preview, it was a sunny England, right? At that point in time, Southampton was basically in the prime summer, and then just before the match, like things changed totally with it being pouring. The reports were changing, right? And that is where I think we also commented in that video that basically New Zealand might not play Santner and might go with an extra seamer, which they did, right? And of course, with that being said, they were bowling first. So that was a huge advantage, Prasanna, the toss.
Yeah, it was a huge advantage, but I don't think toss genuinely matters in any game because if you have the right mentality, if you have the right tools to compete, then toss shouldn't really be a matter. It might matter in the sense that, say, the team bowling first might take advantage of some extra moisture on the wicket, try to get some initial swing, but you don't say come in prepared just to win the toss and bowl first or win the toss and bat first. You have to be prepared for any situation. So
Right.
yeah, it did matter, but I still think we could have done a much better job.
Yes, I think you said it right because the idea is not just the toss, the tools, right? So it's the mentality and the tools, the entire package, especially to begin a final, right? Like we've been in many finals now, as in it's not a secret anymore. That, for example, in 2013 final, the way we started the first 2 overs, as in that's sorry, 2003 final, that is right. So that was when we kind of gave it away, and this was almost that I felt on the team sheet because India were adamant that no matter what we'll pick Ravindra Jadeja and Ashwin. Like we ourselves kind of predicted that, but seeing those kind of overcast conditions, like for sure, I'm sure, like with Ravindra Jadeja not having played much of Test cricket lately, and Shardul Thakur being in form, do you think that was a better option? He could have batted as well as got a bit of swing early on.
Yeah, that's one option, and as you said, bowling wise, I'm not sure Jadeja offered anything much. Probably we went for Thakur, And seeing our tail capitulate as well. I mean, how many times have we seen our tail absolutely fold? I mean, once the 6th or 7th wicket goes, it's like that's it. Our batting is over.
Right.
So Thakur would have given that a bit extra. I'm not sure if he would have given, but at least you have some assurance. Whether it comes out or not, that's a different issue. But at least you have some sort of assurance, because our tail is so weak. It's more like a non-existent tail when it comes to batting. So
Right.
that's been one of the biggest problems we've had over the years.
No, it's I totally agree with that, because even Sunil Gavaskar kind of touched upon that point, that basically the team selection itself, knowing that in England things are unpredictable in terms of the weather. Why didn't we have Bhuvneshwar Kumar there? He might be injury prone or whatever, right? In such overcast conditions, he's probably best in the world, I would say, like right up there, right? Whatever be the form, like his batting as well as bowling would have been key in this particular game. I think we have a comment as well, like they had no plans for Jadeja. Yeah, that's true. Like basically they were just playing big names, and Virat Kohli and Ravi Shastri keep on telling that it's horses for courses, horses for courses. But in the big final, the entire preparation they made was really kind of over focused on, and they forgot the basics. That is basically the pitch conditions and the weather conditions matter a lot in Test cricket. And the first session itself, kind of gave the answer, right? Where India kind of capitulated already, right? So there comes like the batting, right? Again, we did discuss this briefly. I believe I probably went for Mayank Agarwal, and Prasanna, you did say that Shubman Gill is probably going to play, but we kind of agreed upon playing Mayank because of the experience that he has, and the temperament to kind of play longer innings, right? And that's where we missed Mayank as well, Prasanna, I think.
Yeah, we do. And Gill, the problem is it keeps on coming. He gets a good start and then fails. That's but I don't know how many times Kohli is going to chop and change, because you need to keep a consistent, like say a set opening pair. It doesn't make sense to change an opening pair for at least for the long term. You have to stick with either Rohit Sharma and Gill or Rohit Sharma and Mayank. So I think in that parts, the problem was in Australia. After the first test, Prithvi Shaw got out for a duck in the first innings, and 4 in the second innings. His technique was all over the place, and at that point it was Gill and Agarwal, not Gill and Rohit Sharma. But once Rohit Sharma came in, it was Rohit Sharma and Gill. So even there's been changing. So
yeah, a lot of inconsistency, right? Because like the pair actually did not get it, and the fact being that New Zealand were already having the upper hand, having played Test cricket in England just like a week ago, right? So knowing that, probably I would like, it's hindsight is an easy thing. Like I still think that Mayank Agarwal was probably the better pick. Because of the fact that he would have probably bedded in quickly, and then we would have had a stable partnership. Who knows, right? Yes, but the ball was swinging for everyone, so it was not like for Shubman Gill or Mayank Agarwal would have been easier. Fair enough, and that's where even people like Pujara were struggling. Even here you see another comment from Raj, right, saying that Jadeja was used as a filler in most of the match. Yeah, absolutely true. Like I think one spot was almost wasted in these conditions. Like he is a great bowler. I am for that, but still. I don't think he has a batting, neither the bowling in these conditions to prove what it has to get wickets and score those 50s which are really needed. I think a classical example was again the 2019 World Cup, yet another tournament where we had a heartbreak against New Zealand in the semis though that time. Although Jadeja came good in that semi-final match, but throughout the tournament we knew that these are not conditions that are apt for him. I think the last time we performed really well in England conditions were, back in Champions Trophy when we won, but that was a long time back. Like you cannot, just trust your laurels from that perspective, one-off game. So yeah, then I totally agree. Whereas New Zealand, Prasanna, like they went with a tried and tested. Obviously, they have played, England very recently. But again, playing Colin de Grandhomme, I know that he didn't kind of bowl a lot from what I recall. But having that extra seamer gave luxury to the main fast bowlers to go all in, right? Because they knew that we'll get a few overs from Colin de Grandhomme, whereas India were just for the sake of it giving Jadeja, right? He wasn't really a fifth bowler.
Yeah, and even when de Grandhomme was bowling in the first innings, he kind of looked the more threatening bowler in some parts, because Literally, the ball was swinging every single over they were bowling. The first 10 overs not much not much, but after then, to 30 overs, 50 overs, 70 overs, even before they took a second new ball, the ball was still swinging. And even calling the ground home with his pace and if the ball swings late, then it can be a big problem. You will get tempted to go for the shots and you can take a nick. And he was causing problems for a few moments in the first innings. So could we have done that with Thakur instead of Jadeja? I would probably say yes. Maybe even Siraj, maybe. But the thing is he went with that and it didn't work. So
right. No, I agree. It is difficult to drop like a lead fast bowler, the premier fast bowler in Bumrah, for instance. And no one knew that Bumrah is not going to have like his usual day, right? As in obviously the first, I think 2 of the first 3 days were kind of washed off. So obviously we knew that those conditions will be something that will probably suit for Indian bowlers, Siraj the most, like you said, right? And Siraj was probably the bowler who, along with Shami, would have been most effective in these conditions. But Bumrah it was, and Bumrah, I don't know why he wasn't getting the natural swing that he also gets sometimes. But that's something that probably is match practice, lack of match practice. As we have seen in recent series, like India has done tremendously well. As in, here guys, we're not ranting, don't get us wrong. But the fact is, in the last 2 years, we have lost the first test match, I think, in most of the series. And that is where it tells that, okay, we had to basically, be there right up there in our, mental capacity as well as in implementation. Unfortunately, the team itself, that was picked, we don't agree with. Like, there were definitely changes need to be made depending on the conditions, right? So anyway, having picked the team, I'm sure like that was good enough on paper. And so let's see, what exactly happened, right? So let's go to the next section, guys. Okay, so like we all know, it was kind of washed off, from rain first 2 days almost. But Prasanna, like, do you think like the stop and start kind of, innings that happened, like, I'm sure that would have mattered as well to the batsmen. Like we saw that Virat Kohli and Ajinkya Rahane got that good partnership, I would say, right? And then, the next morning, and then they were gone. And then we had that mini collapse, yet again in the first innings, which often happens. Do you think the conditions again were like a huge reason for that, or is just the mental, say break that they had again and again without their choice?
I mean, that is one thing, because that kind of breaks the flow of concept. That kind of breaks the flow, because when you're in, like, say, you end the day on a good note. You're on 44 now. Next day you want to come out and bat well, and that break kind of changed our momentum a bit. But still, like, as professional players, you should be willing to be called up at any point of time and go there and perform for your team. And the way Rahane got out, especially, I mean, that is inexcusable. I mean, Williamson saw that he was trying to play that half pull, and he kept a fielder exactly for that, and he was actually playing well. And this is the nth time that Rahane, after starting well, has thrown his wicket away. You cannot say that the conditions mattered for Rahane getting out. No, it's not.
Right.
And even for Virat Kohli, I mean, it used to be the problem ball outside the off stump, but nowadays it's more of the ball coming into him. That's been a problem for him. And after that, we don't. And after that, Rishabh Pant also, like, he didn't play that well. I mean, the problem is the way we got out. I mean, is trying to play the balls that are outside the off stump that we could have easily left. I mean, that's the basic thing. When a ball is outside the off stump, you leave it. Why try to necessarily go for it and then in the quest of going for runs, getting out? That's always been the problem for us, trying to feed the balls outside the off stump and getting out.
Absolutely. So I'm just sharing the screen here. I hope you're able to see, right?
Yeah.
Basically, this is India's first innings, right? So Rohit and Shubman Gill actually got a decent start, I would say, right? And then they kind of threw it away. But I think the main, as you kind of hit the nail on the head, was the fact that the Kohli and Rahane partnership and both kind of getting out to balls where they are not expected to. Obviously, Kohli, Jamieson being the threat. Like Jamieson was the threat throughout the match, right? As in, I'm surprised because Kohli must have played a lot of Jameson nets recently with RCB. I know it's with the white ball and things like that in different conditions altogether. But I think more than the movement, Prasanna, Kohli was struggling against the bounce, which is not so Kohli, right? As in, that's something that I've noticed in this particular, game.
Yeah, with Jameson, he has the height factor, so he can get the ball to swing and get the ball to bounce as well. Shubman Gill, the problem was he was stepping. Not only was he standing outside the crease for Jameson, but he was stepping down as well. And once he got hit in the helmet right around here, that kind of limited him to say, okay, we'll just stay back and try not to come down too much. That probably affected him a bit. But saying that, you should be playing all these type of bowlers. I mean, the way he got out to the ball that came in, and that was the thing. He was playing so well. We were all thinking, okay, he'll get a 50 and then probably play a longer innings, but that wasn't the case. And if you actually saw, New Zealand won the game with just 9 overs to spare. So probably we would have played.
Okay, guys, I think Prasanna's internet is kind of up and down. He'll probably be back. Okay, here he's back.
Oh, I was there for the whole time.
Oh, okay. I think probably it's my internet. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So if you actually saw New Zealand, they won the game only with like 8 or 9 overs to spare. So probably if would have batted an extra half an hour or even 45 minutes,
right,
the game would have been, at least been a draw. So the people say, oh, we scapegoat Kohli, he's been thrown under the bus. Dude, he's the captain. Obviously, he has to take responsibility.
Yep. No, I agree that. And one more point, Prasanna, that you touched upon is like that 50, right? So I don't know, in Indian cricket is always the case. Like I know that we are seeing the scorecard here and we're seeing 2 people coincidentally, getting out in the 40s. But for England conditions, I don't know that 50 is a landmark that I know it's in the mindset. I've seen that even the last tour. But with, say, New Zealand, I just want to directly compare here. But the fact is, I don't think milestones even matters a bit for New Zealand. That's where the team thing comes into picture. With Rahane especially, I've seen him getting out in the 40s lots recently. So that might be a concern. I don't know, because maybe he's going for the short, for balls that he usually will not go for, just trying to get the 50 mark.
Yeah, I mean, we can't stress it enough. Like, because when you know that you don't have the players after you cannot, with all due respect, you cannot rely heavily on the likes of Jadeja or Rashwin or your lower order to get the runs. It's your responsibility to score the runs. And our tail, I can't even call it a tail that is weak. I'd rather call it a non-existent tail. It's absolutely... If you actually see the comparison between our tail and New Zealand tail, just go up a bit.
Yes. So I think we
just look at when we lost Rahane 182 for 6. Right, look at when we got all out 217. Correct. That's 35 runs for the loss of literally 5 wickets.
And not only that, see the number of balls that they've faced, right? So I think Ishant Sharma around 15 balls, Bumrah 1 ball, Shami 1 ball. That is something that shows that they are not mentally there to kind of have that temperament to just stay at the crease. Like even Shami, for instance, right? And for example, we'll come to the second innings, but the first, attempt that they have is going for a shot. I know that's a natural game, but in these conditions, you have to change your game. Like even a person like Sehwag in the past has changed it. So why don't you do it, right? That's basics of cricket, right? And coming to New Zealand, you said it right.
That's one thing. And New Zealand, look at when Colin de Grandhomme's wicket fell, 162.
Right.
And the next wicket fell only 192. They lost 30 runs just for 1 wicket. And after that, they scored another 50 runs.
Right. So that was the difference. That was the difference. Actually,
that was a big difference. Our tail cannot bat. And we allow others' tail to bat. That has been a massive problem for a long time. Even in England, we got the top batsman out, but we allowed Sam Curran and Stuart Broad to score.
Right. No, that's a good point. I'll just stop sharing the screen now. So, what I also wanted to add, Prasanna, is basically like New Zealand also got off to a good start, right? As in that matters, and it gets in the mind sometimes, for these kind of matches. And at that point, when New Zealand got a good start, don't forget it was raining cats and dogs. So, including me, I'm sure most of you all thought that it's definitely going to be a draw match, in spite of the sixth day that we have for this particular one-off test, right? But maybe, as in, you never know. Virat Kohli might have taken it easy because, like, I think Raj, commented that Jadeja was used as a filler. Yes, just before I think the tea session and the lunch session on day 3 or day 4, Jadeja was used for about 5 overs each. I wonder why. The ball was swinging like a banana at that point. Like, I was thinking that Virat Kohli himself will come. Like, he could have swung the ball. Trust me on that. Like, even that would have not been a bad option. But why get Jadeja just for the sake of having played him and using him? Especially when we are needing to kill the tail, like, with the tail, why would you play Jadeja there, right? So those are things which really needs to be focused on. The first innings sometimes becomes like the most crucial thing because that gives you the momentum, and that is where India kind of lost that momentum. It was just a matter of, I think, 37 runs, the lead that New Zealand had got, but I think those runs were probably equivalent to 75, say in a South African pitch, for example, right? And in Indian pitch would have been 100 runs lead. That's how the big lead was. And that basically gets us to the next part, Prasanna. So let's move there and continue. Yes, guys. So as you can see, absolutely no excuses for the second innings. The fact being that it had almost stopped raining. Yes, we did get a late start, I think, on the fifth day as well, but it was not raining. It was just I think the outfield was wet, and there were certain overcast conditions, which was again kind of favoring the bowlers to an extent. But it was much sunnier compared to the first 4 days, right? And the second innings, began, and we really needed a good start, Prasanna. And that's something that I don't know what to say, how much to stress on, but the moment Rohit Sharma gets out, right, I'll probably get back to sharing the screen. Just give me a minute. That is something that I think probably India is depending way too much for Rohit Sharma to get a good start. He did well in the first innings and second innings as well. In fact, like, I would say, second innings was a very good innings because he played 81 deliveries, and that is no joke, right? He played 81 deliveries. He kind of made sure that the new ball is kind of not being so effective come the third batsman. But no, he got out, and then obviously Shubman Gill got out earlier itself. But the moment Rohit Sharma got out, Prasanna, and I think Kohli came into bat at that point. We didn't send a night watchman, which was good. But do you think that was the turning point with Rohit Sharma getting out towards the end of the day?
I mean, he's shouldering arms to ball is coming straight. I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
That's true as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem we have seen as well. You play for every ball. If it misses, it misses. I mean, if it's going outside off stump, just leave it. If you're not sure that the ball is coming straight or coming in or going out, you kind of just play for it. If he misses, fine, but he misses, but you're not out. I'm not I'm not a cricketer. I'm not like an expert in cricket at all, but I've seen cricket for many years, and to an extent, I know how things work.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say for others as well, and Pujara as well. I mean, we don't call him first innings Pujara without a reason. I mean, he kind of thrives on the first innings mainly. If he doesn't go on the first innings, then forget the second innings, because I don't know what's happening with Pujara as well, because this is basically his version of the World Cup final, because he's not going to play ODIs, he's not going to play T20s. This test is his World Cup final, and the way he tried to play every single ball, fiddling balls outside the off stump, I was like, dude, what are you doing? And that, yes, he did play 80 balls, but some of them he did try to fiddle it outside the off stump, and Kohli as well. Like trying to get some shots. I mean, in the quest of going for runs, we lost some crucial wickets, and you look at that as well: 15, 13, 15, 41, 16.
Right.
We got into double figures, but none of them really converted it to a big score. And we did need a big. We necessarily need to get a big score because
Yeah. I
because
think
the
one
lead would have been
partnership.
bigger, and
Yeah,
then we
one.
would have had an extra chance of getting them all out.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, Prasanna, like one partnership would have done the deal. Like we just needed a draw, one session. Like those times are gone. Like I know that we are kind of going back and forth and ranting a lot here, or leading towards that. But the fact is, there is something called in Test cricket called as playing out sessions, and that is where we lack. Like Kohli, for instance, like you said, he was kind of playing balls around outside the off stump. Why? Like we have seen legends like the Tendulkar, kind of restricting himself, not playing for sessions when he knows that he's not in form. Not only in form, like even in the field, like Kohli is trying to when in New Zealand were getting that lead. I know that Kohli is trying to pump up the crowd, and we had more crowd than New Zealand. Remember, guys, we probably had an advantage there, but he was trying to focus on things just to be positive, aggressive. I understand all that, but when you're batting, you cannot be aggressive, boss, especially in Test cricket in England. You have to be as calm as possible and as patient as possible. I don't think the situation of the match was such that we would have gone for a win anyway at that point. So going for balls outside the off stump, at that frequency that Kohli did in the second innings was baffling, especially when he was not playing Jameson well in the first inning. So I think even just before he got out, two consecutive balls, he just missed it by a whisker, and that would have been enough warning for him to say, "Boss, just stop it, just leave those balls outside the off stump," and he did not, right? And that's something that kind of became our Achilles heel. And again, the hopes were kind of lying with Pant and Rahane. And Pant, being himself, played his natural game, fair enough. But Rahane, Prasanna, I don't know, like probably this is a big test match for him, I would say, in his career. I know he's done great for Indian cricket in the last 2 years of Test Championship. But do you think he has that mental aspect in terms of batting, to kind of get it over the line? Because he plays that VVS Lakshman kind of role, right, in this team.
He does, but it's not only him. I question the whole team. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in this test match, apart from our first innings bowling,
Yeah.
who can actually stand up and say, "Okay, I had a good performance"? Nobody.
No, I agree. I agree.
Sami, Ishant, and Ashwin. These are the three players that can go out say, "Okay, Shami can say he had a good test match because first innings he took 4 wickets, Ishant Sharma took 3 wickets, and Ashwin took some crucial blow and took the crucial wickets. And the first innings he took out Latham, and the second innings he picked up he picked up 2 wickets, and that's it. Only these 3 players can go out and say I had a good game or a half decent game. Whereas the other ones, I don't think they can say the same. If we had put in a honest, full 100% effort and lost, I would say I would have said, okay, fine, we lost. Just New Zealand were the better side. I don't discredit New Zealand; they were much the better side, but we gave it to them on a silver platter. I mean, you see that second innings. We took the wickets of Tom Latham and Conway. Pujara drops a catch when they were like 55 for 2 or something like that. And
Right.
that changes the entire complexion of the game. I mean, you cannot drop catches. I mean, New Zealand were catching flies literally everywhere. When the ball goes to the slips, you know that there is a palm of hands waiting for the ball to land in there. You cannot drop catches like that. And this has been a problem for the past few years. Slip catching.
Right.
It has been a problem. It's not just a problem under Kohli. It's been a problem under Dhoni. It's been a problem under Kohli as well. And yeah, man, another case of you're so near yet so far, and I'm like, no, it's not anymore.
Yeah, because on the other hand, like obviously, we have to commend New Zealand here also, right? We cannot kind of, go on ranting about India because yes, the fact is we are so disappointed and we should have won, no two ways about it. But the temperament that New Zealand showed, like, like you said, like, those kind of crucial, innings, the catches, their catching, the field placing was terrific, I would say. Like, say again to compare, right? When Jadeja was bowling, and even Ashwin was bowling, why were easy singles given to New Zealand? I have no idea. Like literally no idea. It's Test cricket, and the reason why spinners are brought on is not to kind of contain. The reason why you bring spinners is to get wickets. And Ashwin is a wicket taker. He proved it even in the slight opportunity that he got. And those field placings were terrible, in my opinion. Virat Kohli, well, great fan here, big RCB fan, like Prasanna and everyone here. But the fact is, like, even during the match, unfortunately, I have to tell it, it might be controversial, but even on Twitter and every social media possible, people were praising Virat Kohli's aggression. No, we took wickets at that time. We should be celebrating bowlers who take wickets and fielders who take catches, not Virat Kohli. Like, it's high time that we get to know that it's a team sport. It's not Virat Kohli, it is Team India. And that is something that was missing. Yes, Virat Kohli is not to be blamed, but the fact that others are not having that same aggression is questionable. And even, like, I would say, spectators like us who kind of go on just, ignoring the fact that others are not taking enough responsibility. And when it comes to, captaincy, like Williamson, like, he is really the king. I'm sorry to say, Kohli is great, but he is basically a choker right now in terms of finals for India as a captain. It is basically Kane Williamson, who has lost finals as well, yes, but he didn't really lose last time in 2019, right? It was probably the tide match and the rules that made New Zealand, not champions. So in my opinion, it was Kane Williamson who was, much better in the captaincy as well. Like, even for the tailenders, right? When Shami was playing those shots, I'm sure when Virat Kohli was the captain, what he would have done, he would have probably had, people like, at the slip or gully at max. But no, this guy was so smart to actually have someone at short third man, right? And that is where he got a catch. Like, it was really anticipated and well planned out. So yeah, I think that's how the game went. And I think the second innings in New Zealand, needless to say, it was something that we did not really put enough pressure. And as you said, we dropped the catch as well. And in the end, the conditions favored a little bit. The fact being that as well on the sixth day, and Ross Taylor, highly underrated in my opinion. So we'll look at who are the performers, right? So let's go to the final section, guys. Well, so Prasanna, we just saw there, New Zealand had, say, about 7 to 8 performers in this match, and that is what wins your championship as well as the final game, right, in any tournament, right? Whereas India has probably just 3 performers. Obviously, that's something that we need to really, realize that, hey, we need partnerships when it comes to bowling and batting. So, Prasanna, in terms of performance, obviously Kyle Jamieson was a standout, but, who do you think was probably the difference maker in terms of New Zealand's batting, like in terms of the temperament? Because those extra 30-40 runs in the first innings, as well as, the second innings beginning, were the difference at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it does. And you cannot give them easy runs saying, okay, it's only 10 or 20 runs. And I don't look at it as 10 or 20 runs. I look at it as 10 or 20 runs. It's a huge factor in any game, especially in a game of this sort when you don't know whether it will rain, whether it will not rain. And that's the problem. We are not clinical with at bowling at the tail. And that's been a problem since Dhoni as well. It's been carrying on for a long, long time. And that's been a massive problem. If you're not clinical enough, you're not going to win test matches. It's not just enough taking out the top 7 and allow the remaining 4 to score. And that's the problem we saw in England as well. We allowed Sam Curran and Stuart Broad to bat. In Australia, we allowed Nathan Lyon to bat. No disrespect to them. They have good technique, but we should not be allowing them to bat the way they did. And that makes a huge difference. And our tail, more like a non-existent tail. I mean, let's be totally honest. Let's make no bones about it. And when it comes to finals as well, I like to call out 2 of our biggest names, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. I don't like. See, I don't like to criticize players. I don't like to go on and say, oh, they're useless, they're this, they're that. But it's been a recurring theme. They perform well till we get to the semi-final or final. And then once the big occasion comes, they just fall apart. I mean, what does that say about their mentality? I mean, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, we can say, because even with RCB, he has choked in the situations. I have to say that. But Rohit Sharma... Okay. But Rohit Sharma with Mumbai Indians has won these titles. I mean, how is his mentality dropping out like that? And even Bumrah, 2017 Champions Trophy final, it was that no ball that kind of did it for him. Even this test match figures, yes, they are kind of deceptive. It doesn't reflect the way that how his bowling was. He was bowling well, even though not to the impact he was able to he generally creates. But generally Bumrah is like on Malinga. Whenever he bowls, we expect him to take a wicket every single ball, not 1 or 2 wickets every over. 6 balls, 6 wickets, 6 Yorkers. That's what we need, and that's what we have needed for such a long time. A bowler like Bumrah, who is clinical, who is lethal, and to see the players like that, I mean, I don't know what's the thing, man. We come to the finals and then we drop. We play so well until then, just to drop a 0 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10 in the final. I mean,
Yeah,
what's the
no, I
point,
think
really?
so. Prasanna, I'll just add there, right? So you kind of hit the nail on the head again because Bumrah with Yorkers. Now with India, it's like yes, the process has been great, and we have reached the finals, and the stress on the process is a bit too much because when we are not getting those breakthroughs when we really need. I know that it was a very good session. Shami was excellent, like in first innings as well, right? But even Shami, like I believe they did show a stat like while we were kind of live that in England in the last series, that England New Zealand series, right, the most successful bowlers were successful because they pitched it up in good length, say about 80% of the times. So even Shami, I think his percentage was about 70%. So he was not pitching the ball enough to get the most out of. He could have done probably even better, and Bumrah as well, right? He should have probably gone for those Yorkers much more. Like it doesn't matter whether it's a test match or whatnot. I don't know why that mindset that a Yorkers to be bowled only in a T20 final over. No, Yorkers are basically surprise weapons, and anyone will get scared when you bowl at 145 kilometers an hour. And that is what Bumrah can do. And I don't think his pace was dropping. So for him to not try enough Yorkers was an issue for me. So I think that's well put, Prasanna. But yes, let's quickly, also talk about New Zealand here because yes, some great performances. I would say like they've probably written themselves in the history books with Kyle Jamieson. Not only him, but Devin Conway is someone a great opener they found in, and of course Watling. I think it was the last Test match, so kudos to him. It kind of breaks my heart saying that New Zealand won and India did not, but New Zealand probably deserved it the way they played, and of course the recent few years they've had in cricket, right? So guys, comment below. I hope you smashing the like button and subscribing as well. Anyone who's there, if you're not done, please do and share it as well. And let me know your views. We would like to definitely know what went wrong and what is it that India can do in the future to better this. I know that we're having a T20 World Cup, Prasanna, next that we need to perform in. So hopefully, we will be back with a bang. And we'll have to kind of, put our chin up and go and make some changes for sure, I feel. And that's about it from me, Prasanna. Anything that you'd have to say?
Well, first of all, big up to New Zealand, big up to the likes of Ross Taylor. I mean, he has been New Zealand cricket for a very long time. He has seen the ups and downs, and for him to lift that trophy, I think it's deserved. And the way he played itself showed that he has that experience and he knows what it is to be on the big occasion. He's been there before. Things haven't quite cut out for him, but he knows that what we should be doing. And BJ Watling, he's retired, and it's good to see him retired with the Test mace. And man, the mentality has to change. I have no doubt that we have a plethora of talent. We have so much young talent in the squad. We have the players who can deliver on the big stage, but the mentality has to change. And man, just hopefully it changes before. And I just hope we win an ICC trophy soon. I mean, I don't question that we'll do well in the bilateral series and all, Test series and all. But the ICC events in semi-final and final is that where I question the mentality of his team, and hopefully it changes soon.
Yes, I think definitely, New Zealand winning after, I think they won only the second ICC tournament after 21 years. So I hope India
and
doesn't
guess
have
who
to
that
wait so
was
long.
against?
India, yes, that was right. And it's always these records are against India, right? As in, again, being Chelsea boys, both of us, we know that we kind of give teams come to form with football as well. Exactly, and that is what happens with India as well. Most of the records as it used to be. I'm hoping things change. And the next time that we're here, I believe next for cricket, we'll be back, I believe, for the Sri Lanka series. And meanwhile, there's a lot going on in Euros, which I'm sure you guys are enjoying as well. So we'll be back, and I'm sure, Prasanna, I hope to have you back in the channel. I'm sure that audience would like it as well. And till then, take care, guys. Thank you.
Stay home, stay safe. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and wash them hands. Yeah, man. See you. I got to drop